Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Lamarr Renee Spencer. I am a life alignment strategist as well as certified life, relationship, and business coach. I feel like I'm the new kid on the block, especially as relates to all this social media and things like that, as well as podcasting, internet radios. So please bear with me because I'm sure if I don't have a hiccup today, it's going to happen. So just bear with me. But I'm going to work out all the kinks because I am having a good time. But for starters, thank you so very much for joining me. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because I'm sure some of you are in different time zones. So I just want to put that out there. And again, thank you so very much for tuning in. But let's get to it. I was sifting through and I said, you know what? I want to know what should be my first coming to. And I want to talk about something that I'm sure most of us have gone through. If we haven't, trust me, it's going to happen. And if it hasn't happened to you, it's going to happen to someone that you know. And the topic today is going to be emotional roller coasters. Now, I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, the songstress Vivian Green talked about how she was on an emotional roller coaster in her relationship. And she kind of started off by saying, now, I'm not going to sing the lyrics, but I'm going to say them. She said, she's on an emotional roller coaster. She said, loving you ain't nothing healthy. Loving you was never good for me, and I can't get off of this emotional roller coaster. And she repeated, she said, I'm so tired of you making love to me, then disappearing so suddenly, the ups and the downs. I'm tired of you pacifying with promises that you'll never keep. Round and around it goes. And that is exactly what an emotional roller coaster is. We remember how it was when you were a kid. Even probably now, some of you are roller coaster enthusiasts. But roller coasters, they go up and they down, and when you're up, it is great, and then next thing you know, you're dropping because we like that adrenaline rush. But guess what? Relationships can be like that too. And I mean, come on. One day you're with a partner and they tell you how much they love you and how amazing you are, and everything's running so smoothly. And then it seems like right after the blue, they start getting distant and they can't understand you can't understand what's going on. And then next thing you know, it cycles again. Isn't that kind of like the roller coaster? I mean, I have to say and be honest, right? I've experienced emotional roller coasters, and I know how miserable they can make you feel. When you're in a secure relationship, it's clear the main reason why you are attracted to that person. But you do have people who are attracted to unstable dynamics as well. I mean, trust me, it sounds crazy, but they are. And unfortunately, some of us are products of our environment because we grew up thinking these types of relationships were normal. And you thought, hey, you know what? This is what love is supposed to be. But how many times are you going to continue to put yourself in that situation until you break that? Oftentimes when dating, I always even see it with my clients, and I've done the same thing. You tend to have a pattern, and we tend to mirror what we know because it's comfortable. But that doesn't mean that it's good for you. And I mean, come on, let's just be honest. Let's just keep it real. Like they say, let's keep it 100. Love is complicated anyway without added pressure of trying to always second guess your partner. And also you. I mean, do you want to be on these never-ending going back and forth swings? Because that's really what they are. I mean, one minute they're passionate, you're happy, and the relationship is intense. And then you're in a fairy tale. And especially, you know how we as women can be. We telling somebody like, girl, I done hit the lottery. I got my knight in shining armor. Until you find out, hell no, it's not like that. You are in turmoil. You have slid down the razor blade in the alcohol river. It is explosive. It is drama filled. It's a whole bunch of pushing and pulling in this relationship. But we've gone through it. But guess what? Just like roller coasters, okay, sometimes it is time to get off. We understand it. But one thing about me, and I tell my clients all the time, unless it's a dire situation, things can be turned around. Right? They can be. Everything is a lesson learned. If you want to break that cycle, or if they want to break the cycle, they can do it. But the first thing when you start wanting to break this cycle is you have to understand that there is a pattern and that there's a problem. And so when there's a problem, you recognize that, because foremost, before anything can change, you have to know, yeah, we need to make this change. And it's not about playing that blame game, but the first thing is you have to be open-minded about it, right? You do, because although we talk about emotional roller coasters and how you need to get off and the adrenaline and things like that, and it can be turmoil, they can be actually worked out because some people are actually attracted to this type of situation. But they can, like I said, be worked out. You just have to be patient and you have to be open-minded. And you have to remember that, guess what? We're all different. Our partners have different feelings and they come from different backgrounds as you, right? We all have to realize that sometimes we think the way we were raised is just the right way or the only way, or the way we believe or what we have seen is just it. It's the holy grail. But it's not. We have to realize that, guess what? Just like our feelings are valid, their feelings are valid too. And the thing is, you cannot compare your relationship with the relationships of others. All relationships, believe it or not, are unique. And I know we like to think that, oh no, my relationship is just like someone else. Or you hear a story about someone's relationship and you're like, that's my relationship all the way. But trust me, they're not. All relationships are different and they're unique, because guess what? The people are unique and different, right? So don't hook up with labels. Don't do that. And don't generalize your relationship. And don't expect your relationship to be like other people you know. More often, I always tell people, I'm like, look, don't tell what's going on in your relationship. Do not put people into your business, because foremost, you're giving your side of the story. Second is you want someone to validate what you already know. So don't even go there. Keep your relationship between the two of you, because guess what? It entails the two of you, right? And so that's just what it should be. And then you have to, in situations like this, identify what the root causes of this roller coaster is. You have to, in order for it to turn around, it's important to identify what caused it and at what point. And you have to tell your partner and let them, and when you tell your partner, see how they feel about it. Maybe, you never know. They will open up and give you more information than what you expected. But give it time, because sometimes self-reflection is not always easy. It's not always easy to go and say, you know what, look, I'm sorry I'm like this because my mom and daddy was this way. I see my aunties this way and my uncles that way. It's not always easy to express what is really going on. It's just not. And sometimes, and I'm not saying this is for all, but sometimes it's easier for women to open up versus men to open up, right? So you know your partner. So I'm not saying they're just going to come and spill their guts, like right then and there. No, sometimes things take time. So don't rush the conversation. Let it kind of grow into it. And it might be like a 5-minute conversation here, maybe a 10-minute there. You never know. But it's just open up. Let them open up when they're ready. And don't make it seem like you're at the police station and you're going through some massive, interrogating your, the questions. So, but I have to say though, some possible causes of these types of relationship is really emotional pain from you and them. And it could be stress, it could be anger issues. They could be focusing on a negative instead of positive. So it could be so many different things. Like I said, take your time before acting. Often I know we as women, we like to make a quick decision that really affects us long term. So we on this roller coaster, we up here talking, he may say something you don't like, and then next thing you know, you start blocking him and don't want to talk to him, and then next thing you know, you find something now, you're like, okay, let me bring the number back, let me listen to him. So again, these take time. When someone has gone through an emotional roller coaster, and again, when they're trying to break a cycle, you're talking about possibly breaking 10 years, 15 years, or, longer of really generational trauma, possibly, or them being a product of their environment. So they're not going to just open up and spill all the beans to you immediately. So it's not. Again, it takes time. And when you're in these type of situations, again, you pick when the best time to talk to your partner. It may not be when they wake up first thing in the morning. Let them brush their teeth. Let them get started with their day. It may not be at night. Only you know or they know when the best time to talk about these things, right? But again, don't rush it and don't be so quick to act on your feelings when it comes to your feelings and emotions. But then I have to say, you need to learn to accept your feelings, their feelings, and you have to express them properly. Because remember, these kinds of conversations in relationships, they're intense, okay? And when they're intense, they could be very difficult to discuss. Because, again, people don't want to feel like they're failures. They just really don't. And you have, like I said, accept your feelings and their feelings, but knowing how to express them. Now, sometimes we say a bunch of stuff, but we really don't say anything. I'm not sure if you guys know about people like that, but it's the truth. It's like they've said so much, and then you walk away like, wait a minute, they really ain't saying nothing at all. Or again, like I said, they don't know how to properly express themselves. We always like to make it seem like it's easy to do that. No, cussing somebody out or, telling or playing the blame game is not really expressing yourself properly. Expressing yourself means that I'm going to give you the details of what happened, and then I'm going to back it up with examples. Now, I'm not saying that when you have these conversations that you need to go all the way back to childhood. I'm not saying that. I'm saying talk about whatever that topic is that is bothering you, that's putting you on this roller coaster. And that's the way you handle it. So don't just start, crashing on them all of a sudden and putting so much, well, you did this last week and last month, and you're weaving 20 different conversations or instances into one. So express yourself properly and really don't judge that person and don't start lashing out. Like I just said, I said it in a different way, but don't start lashing at the person. Put a statement out there, like I said, get the temperature of it and see how receptive they are to what you've just said, because you'd be surprised. Sometimes the way you word things will actually get you more positive results than yelling and carrying on. So see what the temperature is of the conversation. And you might actually get something, you might actually get a response that's not necessarily what you were expecting. So in that case, please learn to forgive. Because in order for these things to work, you have to forgive that person. Because one thing about forgiveness, it leads to better emotional state and instills a tense, a sense of calmness and giving. And actually, you have more control of the situations than you like to think. So, like I said, gauge the temperature of it. And I know it's not easy to forgive, but if this relationship is something that you want to work out, then you're going to have to learn to do it. And it's not easy. It's not something that's going to be a quick fix. It's not. But you have to practice also mindfulness. And that means that in the heat of an argument, if it gets to that point, you have to stay focused on what's really happening. And again, not on the past emotions and anxiety and all those other things. Stick to whatever is bothering you. One thing, don't even say, well, I know this is a pattern and you did, I don't know, let's just say you lied. They lied to you. You lied to me yesterday, last week, 2 weeks ago. No, just say, give a blanket statement. Well, I feel like it's a lot of untruths. Because you will end up getting more positive results. Now, when I talked about the lying, that was just an example, but you have to practice this mindfulness. Now, is it easy to stay focused, especially when you're pissed off? No, because I, for one, will put 20 different arguments into 10. Believe me when I tell you, I have been there, done that. In order for me to be able to help people, I have to calm myself down too. I had to figure out, like, wait a minute, we're going on a tangent, nothing gets done. So you're right back to where you started. Matter of fact, you're not even back to where you started. You never even started effectively. So now both of you are pissed off, and that's because you didn't stick to whatever it was. You didn't stick to the conversation, and that's just what it was. But in most relationships, and actually in all relationships, when you go into these types of relationships, you should, in order to be successful, you got to have goals and expectations. And I know when people hear goals and expectations, they think, okay, what are you going to bring to the table? I'm not saying that part. What I'm saying is, okay, if you're dating someone and you're in a and you start being into a serious relationship with that person, where do you want it to go? And make sure that you're not saying, well, wherever it goes, it goes. Because no, it's not going to go anywhere. Make sure when you get into these types of situations that you have an end goal. That if you don't want to be with that person, that's fine to date. But these are based on relationships. Okay, like you're courting and you are serious with that person. Okay, that's what it's about. So you have to figure, like, every day ain't gonna be Christmas, right? And every day ain't going to be, lovey-dovey. You're going to go through some things. And I always say, when someone says, well, the person's not talking, quiet relationships are not. They're saying a lot, but you're just not hearing it. And so when you think they're quiet, they're not. They're actually saying a whole lot. So you got to pay attention to the details. And that's important. And again, it's about creating a healthy relationship. Is it easy? No. But a healthy relationship starts with being sincere and transparent with, of course, like I said, clear and open communications. it actually will save you a lot of time, and you don't have to buy that ticket to get off of that roller coaster because you already on there. You don't have to, just necessarily get off of the ride and walk away. So even there, like I said, I'm giving the tips and the tricks, but if and when it's time to walk away. Because you might find yourself that honestly, it's not going to work. Nothing's going to transpire no matter what you do. And it's not saying you have to change that person, but if ultimately they're not aligned with you and your end game, then it might be time to, find another relationship. And that's okay. Or come out of this relationship. But really, you only know that. You'll know what the best decision is for you. So again, take your time and be honest with your feelings and decide what's really best for you and then also that other person. We always think it's all about me, 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 but it's not. It's not always about you. It's about the two of you. Now, relationships really should feel less like a roller coaster and more like you're floating down, like a river on a hot summer afternoon. You should feel safe and supported. But we know that's not always the case. But really, that's the way it should be. These roller coasters are, like I said, they're uncanny. And we've all, if you haven't been through it, you may. And it sounds so easy to tell a person, you know what, this is what's going on, this is what I don't like, right? But it's not always easy, especially when you've invested time, your heart, feelings, and emotion into roller coasters or into, a person. And they're taking you on all this ups and downs. You know that you need to probably leave or see if you can make some changes. You know that, but it's not always easy to leave because, again, I remember the old saying, I remember my grandmother saying, it's better to have a piece of man than no man. Well, actually, it's not, because who wants to be aggravated? You can't do your job. You're changing your diet because you're up here thinking about the what ifs, and that person is driving you up the wall. You know you love them, but they may not be good for you and what you're trying to achieve. And so, again, it can be very tiresome, especially when a person doesn't want to take responsibility for the actions that they have played. Because that's a whole other conversation that we'll get into a later date when they don't want to take responsibility. And it's not always easy to get off, it's not. It's like, okay, I'm gonna leave maybe Monday. It's like a diet. Okay, Monday came. All right, next month when I get myself together, all right, and when we talk about these things, all right, you know what, next month. But next thing you know, you've actually passed a few months, years, and a couple of holidays. So you don't want to be wasting your time in these situations if this is not something that you're willing to work out and they're willing to work out. I mean, let's just face it here. Most of us, right, that are going to be listening to this, you're over 40 years old. And I know people say, well, I have a lot of time. Well, do you want to be wasting your prime years on nonsense? Right? Possibly not. Because it's going to take more energy than if you went out there and dated someone, like I said, who didn't put you on these roller coasters. And again, when I talk about being in a relationship with people who put you in these, where you're in these roller coasters, it's just not someone who you have an intimate relationship with. This can actually happen with your parents. It can happen with family members. It can happen with your children. I mean, it can happen with different people. Anyone that you have a connection to or with. And I mean, it's not too far-fetched for this to happen with parents. I mean, I've had a couple of clients where, guess what? The parents actually put them on an emotional roller coaster because that's what they knew and how they were raised. And so, again, like I said, it just became a normal relationship. So it doesn't necessarily have to be with someone who you're intimate with, it could be anyone. I mean, shoot, even taking a step further, it could be with a colleague. Think about it. Your chances are you're around your colleagues really just as much as you are with your family and friends. You're working, let's say, 8 to 10 hours a day. It's 24. Then guess what? You could be going through this with your colleagues as well. And I know some of us would like to say, you know what? I would never go through something like that with my coworker. But guess what? Sometimes things happen and you're already in it. So it definitely can happen. But in this situation, I would like to think that it happens, like I said, with an intimate relationship, someone that you are dating, maybe possibly thinking of getting married to. And so these types of like I said, relationship, it could be turmoil. Again, I never really cared for roller coasters even as a child, right? Because in my mind, I couldn't really control it. So even with relationships, we're still probably feeling the same way. But I hope this helped. Like I said, every week we're going to be talking about different relationships and work-life balance, little tips and tricks. And thank you so very much for, like I said, hanging in there with me. I have a new book out called The Depths and Diversity Within Relationships. Again, the depths and diversity within relationship. And we talk about so many different relationships. It's not about just intimate relationship. The book is phenomenal. It's an easy read. It's an anthology. So me and 9 other authors wrote about how relationships, we initiate them and sometimes we end the relationship, but regardless, they've had some type of impact on our life. Like, for instance, when I say about emotional roller coaster, I've gone through that with my father, right? I really have. You'll find out all this in the book, but I went through an emotional roller coaster with him. He has PTSD and he was an Army veteran. And so our relationship is really like a very it's difficult, right? Because again, I feel like I've always been on an emotional roller coaster with him. We're good, for a couple of weeks, a month, and then next thing you know, I'm going up that hill and then boom, something happens. So again, it's not just intimate. And then even in the book, to move forward, we have someone who talks about, okay, once the divorce is finalized, then what? Trying to get her life, in order and rebuilding her life. And I mean, there's something in there for everyone. There's another author who talks about relationships and how they're seasonal. Everyone is not meant to be in your life for years. Some people are just meant to be in your life for a season, and it's to teach you a lesson. So again, grab the book. It's an easy read. It's only 100 pages, and you can grab it on Amazon. Amazon.com. Again, it's called The Depths and Diversity Within Relationships. Thank you so very much. Again, my name is Dr. Lamarr Renee Spencer, and I appreciate you for hanging in there with me. Thank you and enjoy your day.